It's September 10th, 2019. The Board of Trustees convening for the Trustees meeting, and now for the executive sessions. Heather, please roll call.
Mr. Insco?
Present.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here.
And Mr. Unger?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Mills?
Mr. Rajagopal, I recommend that the board go into, make a motion to go into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to discuss the employment and compensation of public employees. Also in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3 to discuss pending or imminent litigation with the Township Attorney. Also in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G4 to discuss collective bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation. And finally, in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G8 to consider confidential information relating to specific business strategy and to discuss negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance.
I would motion that we do such thing.
Good. Good.
I'll offer second.
Okay. Any discussions?
Not from me.
Go roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
The board will be recessed for the executive sessions. We should be returned. We are back from the executive sessions. Heather, roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Here.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
There's nothing
Mr.
to
Mills,
report from
can you
executive
report?
No, sir.
Okay. We have a,
Pledge of Allegiance.
would you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the United flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the meditation, and please keep in our heart all the victims of Bahamas, and keep your thoughts and prayers. Let's have a few minutes of thoughts. Thank you very much. Be seated, please. The next on the agenda is fiscal office.
I'd like to ask for the board's approval of the minutes of August 27th, 2019.
I motion that we approve those minutes.
I'll offer a second.
Any discussions?
Not for me.
Not from me.
It was brought to my attention there was some error in these minutes. Are you aware of anything?
What sort of errors?
Kathy, you mentioned to some.
There were several, and what Raj had, when Raj was being yelled at, it said that he asked them to leave, and he didn't ask them to leave, and there were a lot of extra words in there, like a, and he said was, things like that.
Okay.
All right. So we'll look into.
No other discussion from me.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
The next on the agenda is the presentation, introduction and swearing in of promoted employees.
Good evening, Frank.
Good evening, Board. First, our mic is going.
Dana, we good? At the podium, thank you.
Good evening, Board. This evening, I'd like to introduce and swear in the Fire Department's newest fire officer, Lieutenant Craig Niehaus. Craig, will you and your family please come forward? This evening's ceremony is a very special one. As you can see, the Niehaus family is well represented as they have served to provide and ensure public safety within our local communities for several years. Craig's dad, retired Assistant Chief of the Fire Department, Rick Niehaus, dedicated over 40 years of service to this community. His brother, Lieutenant Chris Niehaus, currently a Springfield Township Police Department part of their command staff. He also served on the fire department in his early years. And of course, his mother Jenny and his wife Beth, who have supported these men during their careers. 5 candidates competed in the promotional process for lieutenant. The process was a challenging and stringent evaluation of each of the candidates' knowledge, skills, and abilities. Each of the candidates are to be commended for their overall performance during the process. Craig has served this community in the capacity of a firefighter and paramedic since November 2003. During that time, he has prepared himself to demonstrate that he is ready for the opportunity to lead in our organization. Craig, by experience, by performance, by testing, you have been this day advanced to the rank of lieutenant. As a lieutenant, the rank carries with it unique responsibilities and privileges you are now bound to observe and expected to fulfill. Craig, on behalf of the entire department, it is with deep and sincere pleasure in congratulating you on your success. Are you ready to accept the oath of office? All right, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Craig Niehaus,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio
and its bylaws,
and its bylaws,
and that I will faithfully execute
and I will faithfully execute
the duties of fire lieutenant in and for Colerain Township,
the duties of fire lieutenant and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
and the State of Ohio
and the State of Ohio
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and I was so happy to see you promoted to one of the finest departments in the country. Thank you for your service, sir. The next on the agenda is Crime Analyst update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and give everyone a bit of an overview of first of what we hope to be maybe, well, right now it's just a question mark, but many reports that we hope to put out there to help us understand what is currently happening within the township. So I was going to go ahead and take the time to give a brief rundown as far as what this report is. It is similar to if you've ever heard of the CompStat report that was originally developed out of New York City. This follows formats from this. It is not going to be something that we take away because we tailor these things specifically to each department. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and kind of start with giving a rundown as to a little bit of some of the challenges that I face when creating this report. First and foremost, you'll notice that there's a 28-day, a 91-day, and a year-to-date category for reporting periods. So we're looking at 3 different time categories. We're comparing 2019, our current year, and comparing that to 2015, 16, and 17. Now, the reason that 2018 is not being a comparison year is because after the data loss with PAMET, where there was some issues and there's some missing data from that point, 2018 does not actually represent a complete year that would be a great comparison year. So therefore, we go ahead and we throw that out because we simply don't, if it's slightly tainted even in the little bit, we don't want to actually use that for a comparison. Okay, so that's why we actually took 2018 and eliminated that for comparison studies. So just taking a look here, your 28-day reporting period, 91-day, these are to actually try to get good snapshots to see in what direction are we trending. And our year-to-date category is simply to see what the current situation is now. Okay, so taking a look here, some categories of note. So when I take a look at, say, for instance, one thing that I should definitely say here is you'll notice with these percent changes, if they're small numbers and you see some decent changes between even 3 to 5, you represent then you can represent a 40% change. It seems like an inflated number for the percent change, but it's actually, when you're dealing with small numbers, the percent change seems inflated. So just wanted to preference, go ahead and kind of throw that out there as to why some of these numbers may look bigger than they are if you're dealing with small numbers. So for the 28-day period, looking at as far as the robbery category, compared to the 3-year average, right now for that 28-day period, there were 3 robberies in this period, compared to the 3-year average of 7 for the same 28-day period, currently down 57%. Taking a look here, going into the 91-day period here, also looking at as robbery is for violent crime. Robbery is the most prevalent of the violent crime for Part 1 crime. So currently, compared to the 3-year average, robbery down for the 91-day period, 67.9%. And then taking a look year to date. So year to date, currently in 2017, there were 31. At this point, there's 20. So that's a difference from 17 to 19 of 35.5% down from 2017. Total violent crime. So if we just look at the everything as a whole, so homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, from 17 to 19, down 30.8%. Okay, so with this, I know these seem like big numbers, but it's actually not uncommon. So if I was actually just looking at a lot of Cincinnati's numbers. If you look from 2015 to where they are right now, a lot of the decreases that they saw from 2015 are approximately 30%. So this is not something that is going to be anomalous just for within the township here. I think that multiple agencies are actually experiencing this, and something that, it may raise some eyebrows, but at the end of the day, these are the numbers. So I think at the time right now, at some point, yes, it will level off. But for the time being, we kind of ride the high, right? So we are currently seeing these numbers, and when it comes to total Part 1 crime, we get the same story. Compared to 2017, down 28.5%. When looking at the 3-year average, down 35.2%. So very encouraging. I went ahead on the bottom left, bottom in the middle there, I went ahead and tried to look at some things a different way here. So obviously theft being the biggest problem here in Colerain Township, there's no question. I wanted to get an idea, where is that theft occurring? Okay, so we went ahead and I grouped everything to the block segments and captured it by where the most voluminous block segments and where they're actually occurring. So the 10,200 block of Colerain Avenue, the 8,400 block of Colerain Avenue, 9,000 block of Colerain, 9,500 Colerain, 9,600 block of Colerain. These are our top 5 theft locations throughout Colerain Township. As we can see here on, like I said, the bottom left with the counts. So at the top, 78 currently. These are year-to-date figures, so 2019. Looking at any Part 2 offenses, so anything that does not fall into the Part 1 crime category, Part 1 being homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, theft, theft from auto, or auto theft. This is going to be something I wanted to actually represent and show what is taking up the police department's time other than these main crime categories. So number of assaults year-to-date, simple assaults 79, domestic violence 58, menacing 26, any sex offense 9, and any fraud 8. And finally, in the bottom right here, we get a look at total reported offenses by beat. So our most voluminous beat is beat 3. And given everything that's kind of in beat 3 there, it's not surprising, especially with the amount of theft, right? So followed by beat 1, beat 4, beat 5. As we progress down, we then break out same categories now by beat. So each beat then is captured and compared to itself. So as we go through here, we can see a lot of similarities. Beat 1 actually is experiencing a little bit more than that 30%. I see decreases of 46 and decreases of 45% currently. And then we also, top theft locations and top Part 2 offenses for that beat are also captured in here. But one final thing that I wanted to actually do in the bottom right corner, it may be actually difficult to see, so I may have to change around as far as the visual. But trying to give an idea of, because a lot of the times we have these ideas, especially if a violent crime were to occur, and not to discount any sort of violent crime that happens, because they have an impact and they're huge. However, it's best that we understand how much of that actually occurs within the area, correct? So for beat 1, if we look at violent crime versus property crime, violent crime makes up 3% of the total volume of what we see for beat 1. Moving on to beat 2. Currently for 2019, we have not seen a reported offense for a violent crime in beat 2. Seeing a lot of the same numbers, around 30% as far as total decrease. Beat 3, 1% violent crime compared to total reported violent crime, property crime. And again, I mean, we're seeing this across each, when even looking at each beat, we're seeing the same general theme, approximately 30%, 30 to 40%. Beat 4, approximately 5% of the total reported offenses for Part 1 crime are violent crime in this area. And still, with compared to 2017, down 33.3% in violent crime. So while we still see a little bit of an increase as far as the total amount of violent crime compared to the other beats, it's still down approximately 30% compared to other years. And finally, beat 5 here, so 4% compared to other property crime is your violent crime. So with this, there is, compared to 17 year-to-date, we're currently up 1 when it comes to Part 1 violent crime. So a 20% increase, but compared to the 3-year average, still down 28%. And compared to the 3-year average for total Part 1 crime, down 25.2%. So that just gives a simple look of breaking it down by beats and also looking at the township as a whole. And what this does is it gives us a really good way to take a look at these offenses through different time periods. And this can help identify, if you're looking at the scanning process and you're scanning for a problem, you want to start wide and then narrow in from there, right? So this is the scanning on a wide level, and we do it in multiple ways. So again, one report of many to come. And this is something that is, now that it's completely set up, is ongoing and will continue to run on a weekly basis. That way we can look back and we can start trying to capture some of these issues that may arise more quickly than we could after it's, kind of well after the fact. Questions for me?
I think that's great information. It allows us to go apply our resources where they might be most needed rather than chasing things after the fact, and I think it's a great report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This report available to the public?
So I don't know what the plans are on this, but I would assume that this will be made available to the public. I know with Cincinnati, they post theirs, they're online, and I don't think the chief has any problem making these available.
Yeah, this is the first month that we've done this, and
This is the
so
very first time that it's even actually been kind of pitched out here
that's
to
right.
anybody.
And so we'll, of course, we can make it a monthly, the week of a trustee meeting, we can post it to Circle, and this is the monthly crime report.
Great.
I would say that's a good way to start it,
Yep.
getting it out there. If you would go ahead and post it to Circle.
Yes, sir.
And if the board agrees, since this was presented during the trustee meeting, I'd love to put a copy of that in the minutes for posterity, forever.
It's fine with me.
Okay, so it'll be available electronically or?
I'm not sure the format, I think
I
that's
can,
better suited to what
yeah.
we-
If you get with one of the staff members in the back there, they can tell you how to get onto Circle.
But it'll be available electronically, not just PDF or?
Yeah, we can have this conversation offline. If you'd like to talk to a staff member in the back right now, they can help you.
And then the definition of what the beats are?
Yeah, I can actually, I'll go ahead and I'll send out a map, put out a map that actually clearly identifies each beat.
Okay, so you send it out to,
I'll get it over to them and they can post it to wherever they're gonna post these as well.
okay, thank you.
All right, time for a public hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda is public hearing at zoning case ZA 2019-05, zone change for 2543 Compton Road. You want to open up a public hearing?
Need a motion to open.
We got a motion to,
I'll make a motion to open up the public hearing.
And I will second it.
Thank you.
okay, any discussions?
No.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Enscombe?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Anyone who's going to testify in the public hearing, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Very good. Thank you, board. I have a brief presentation, and then we can get public input. So the case that we have in front of us today is, it concerns the property at 2529 through 2507 Compton Road. The applicant requests a zone map amendment from the current zoning designation of B1 to a proposed zoning designation of B2. You know what? Let me make this bigger for everybody here. There we go. The site is located at Compton Road, let's see, east of the split with Pippin Road. It's adjacent to Compton Recycling, if you know where that is. This is the site here. And again, it's surrounded to the south by residential, and then all the commercial property around it is B1. You'll see that sort of shadowy thing on the screen there, that's the floodplain. And so you can see the portion of the site that's actually located in the floodplain. This is an image. And here is sort of neighboring shots just to get a sense of where we're at. This is the site plan that looks like the existing condition, and then we move to the proposed condition. The applicant proposes to use the property for to sell cars, which is not a permitted use in the B1 zoning designation, and that's why he's looking to change it from B1 to B2. He also proposes to do auto service at this location. Applicant provided elevations. However, this was taken into consideration, and the staff recommendation was for denial, and the zoning commission voted also to deny this request for a number of reasons. There were details.
Unanimous, the vote?
I believe it was. Let me just.
If not, I'd be curious why it wasn't, what their reasoning was.
It was unanimous. Yep. The reasons are multifold, but probably the biggest reason is the B1 zoning designation is considered a neighborhood commercial district, and we try to limit auto sales in neighborhood commercial districts, and that is the biggest. And then there's a number of other considerations that were detailed in the staff report. But that is my presentation. And just to be clear, this evening, what we're going to do is just have the public hearing, and then that'll give you guys the opportunity to discuss the issue and let us know sort of how you're feeling. That'll give us then the opportunity to draft a resolution that, if you would like to approve it, you can direct us to do a resolution to that effect. If you want to deny it, you can direct us to present a resolution to that effect. You're not voting on it tonight. You'll vote on it at the next trustee meeting. Okay, so at the end of public input, we'll close the public hearing. You guys will deliberate, and then we'll move on.
So did you want to bring your speaker
Open the
up?
floor for the hearing.
Yep, so if there's anybody that'd like to testify.
Good evening. How you doing?
Not bad, how are you?
Excellent.
Me and my father,
Sorry, could you please state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, my name's Thayer Sarble. I'm the son of the owner that's currently listed on here. Back in March 2019, this year, we bought the property with intent of opening it for a car sales / detail business. We knew that it was under B1 zoning before we did everything. And we were advised and recommended to go ahead and put in the request for change of zone, since considering across the street there's a mechanic shop, next door is also the recycling center, and which both are listed under the B2 businesses, I believe. So we put in a request. We were almost we were told that it would be easy, almost guaranteed approval.
Who told you that, real quick, if you don't mind?
We were here in the office right next door. I believe it was Mr. Urbanzik.
Jesse? Okay.
Yes. The last hearing, we were denied change of zone for a reason that the township wants a more residential-friendly business, such as a corner store or a restaurant where the residents can walk to and buy something and go home. Not just some random corner car dealership, quote unquote, from the last meeting. Businesses nearby are the gas station, convenience store, restaurant, mechanic shop, and the recycling place. Since we bought the property, we've advertised it for lease for B1, B2, or for B1 retail businesses. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten any requests for rental there for B1 businesses. We have gotten dozens of B2 businesses that would like to go in there, and we've had no choice but to tell them we can't do it. So since then, we've been paying the property taxes and insurance on it. We're basically losing money on the building, because our intent was to open up the car sales and detail shop and work with the business across the street, which is a mechanic shop. If our cars had any problems with them, we'd take them over there. That being said, with us having to put all our initials and plans on hold, it's very difficult for us to keep paying the bills for the place without having an income coming from it. All I ask today is for you guys to understand our situation and maybe consider, if not a change of zone for this building, maybe a change of use. That way we can get the business up and running, and instead of it being a vacant building just on the road there. That's all I have. Thank you.
I had a question, but if you have one,
Go ahead, Greg, and I'll ask Mike.
do you have any intentions of improving the property, or have you already made any improvements or anything along those lines?
We've made some improvements. I believe before we bought the place, the last owner had put a new roof on it. We had a couple leaks here and there. We got that fixed, but we haven't done many improvements to it yet. And I'd also like to say that since it's vacant right now, I pass by there once a week and I see people that just dump their trash.
Dumping, yeah, it's a big problem there.
And we have to get a truck and unload it and take it somewhere.
Just out of curiosity, have you spoke to the neighbors? Are they in favor of this? Are they against it? What's the feel from them?
I spoke to the businesses. The business next door, he said he had no problem with it. I didn't get a chance to speak with the residents across the street up the hill, but so far, we haven't gotten, at the last hearing, there was nobody that came forward to deny anything or state their problems with it.
This is Jeff, could you pull that picture back up again of the property? If I'm not mistaken, that's a grass lot right there. There's no gravel or asphalt. Am I wrong?
There's some.
So you own the lot immediately to the left of that picture, is that right?
Yes, we own that lot and the lot next to it.
And that is or isn't paved?
Yes.
It is paved.
Yes, right there in front of the building and off to the left of the picture.
I can't picture that.
20 feet, I would say.
I think that's all my questions, if you had some, Dan?
So if you were going to sell cars there, how much inventory do you think you would have on the lot at any given time?
Honestly, to start off with, would start off small, no more than 10 vehicles. You know, some would have in the showroom, inside the building, and a few outside.
So it would be just late model used cars?
I'm sorry?
Late model used cars probably, or?
Yeah, something, you know, clean, dependable cars.
So this is your used car business? This is not someone you'd be leasing to for their lot?
Our initial plans was for us, but we have gotten requests for other car businesses, like car dealerships, body shops, mechanic shops, to be leased into the building. We tried advertising it so we could have income coming from it, but everything we've gotten was for B2 businesses.
Jeff, not to put you on the spot over there, do you know what if there's car restrictions on a lot like this per size, how many they can get out there or something? Because we've had some issues with, we're trying to get people not to park on the lawn anymore, and we've had quite a few zoning issues with that. And even, you know, I won't mention names, but even some of the larger car lots along Colerain are still parking in the grass. And that's obviously something we would like to avoid. And I'm just curious if there's a limit to how many.
We're trying hard to keep used car sales uses out of neighborhoods completely. So the answer is 0.
The lot itself to the left has enough room to have about 3, maybe 4 cars on the side, and maybe a couple of cars in the front. And like I said, some of them will also be inside the building as a showroom. So it wouldn't be too many overtaking the area. It wouldn't look like it's cluttered up there or anything.
So there's a residence live up the hill, right?
Yes.
Apartment, housing or apartments?
No, it's a house.
Houses.
Yes.
There's some apartments
Any,
right up. Sorry.
any people playing? Okay, I gotcha.
Yes. From my understanding, the house in the top picture is owned by the same person that owns the mechanic shop right there. I think they just work there and live there. The house on the bottom is way up the hill next to that property.
On the same side of the street as you, it's what, you, vacant, La Rosa's Marathon, and then that apartment complex? Am I thinking correctly?
No, that one is across the street from.
Those
our
are
side
across
of
the street, yeah.
On our side of the street is our building, the recycle center next door, and then down the street.
Other direction.
The gas station, or I believe a convenience store, and the restaurant there.
Okay. Where's the border for Colerain right there? Is it right at that?
With Mount Healthy,
Yeah, it's got to be right.
it's
It's got to be on that.
a mile. Yeah,
It's got to be less than that.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No other questions at this time. Thank you.
Anyone else want to address?
I think you need to be sworn in.
You need to be sworn in, sir.
It's just a question.
Should he be sworn in, Larry?
He doesn't need to be sworn in to ask a question, just to give testimony.
Okay.
Is it possible to just change the coding from B2 without car sales? So that would give him an option to release his building for something else?
He's asked to change it from B1 to B2.
Yeah, to go to B2 without car sales.
Uh-uh.
That'd be a new car classification. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. If no one is coming forward, we'll ask to, okay, close the public hearing.
I motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll offer a second.
Any discussions?
Thanks for your testimony. I appreciate that.
Roll call,
None
please.
from me.
Any
Mr.
discussion?
Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Okay.
So if you wanted to deliberate it all and sort of give us a sense of which direction you would like us to bring back a resolution, we can draft a resolution that says that you approve the zone change or that you disapprove the zone change. Can you give us some direction on that?
One last question. How long has it been vacant there? So it's been vacant at least since February.
Thank you.
I would have to do a little more research.
Okay,
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll get back with you.
just send me an email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
I don't know what there was no motion on the floor.
We had motion to close the public hearing, and you've already recorded that.
Right.
Okay, so we're done with that.
Very good. So the next item on the agenda is a public hearing dealing with the property at 8944 Colerain Avenue. The applicant has withdrawn that application, so we do not need to hold that public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye.
The next on the agenda is citizens address. Like we've been doing this, 5 minutes. I urge each citizen to speak about 5 minutes, please, concerning that our agenda. The first on the list is Joe Engel.
How you doing, Joe?
Good. A little nervous. I don't speak in public.
That's okay. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I am here to voice my concern about the through street that you want to make Sovereign to Pippin. I've lived there for about 26 years. We built our house there. And to the best of my knowledge, Sovereign Drive was never meant to be a connecting street. If you go down that street, it's pretty narrow. And there are some accidents on that street already, and you can look those up if you want. The last one was a pretty good accident. To try to alleviate traffic from Cross County to Colerain Avenue by putting a through street there, I don't think will work for our subdivision. Our subdivision, if you come down Sovereign, you have to leave Sovereign, which makes it a safe area. People don't come down there except the residents. I know that many of the people there are buying their houses because it's a closed subdivision. Every street's a dead end. And houses in our subdivision sell really rapidly, within hours of going up. And I think that's a big reason why. Everybody walks the sidewalks. The kids all ride their bikes in the streets. The residents all know this, and they go slower down Sovereign. If it's a through street, I think the speeds are going to go way up and the accidents are going to go up. Also, if it's a through street, the property values in our subdivision will drop. That's why many people buy the houses and pay more for them. I think talking to many of the residents, their biggest concern is the through street. We know that they purchased the area at the end of Sovereign. We know that they want to develop something there. We'd prefer it not to be apartments because there's no revenue for the township there, and I think that won't help property values. We know it's not zoned for apartments at this point in time. I think many of the residents would be happy with upscale houses back there. I don't know why it got turned down when they approached the board before, but we know part of the problem was who was going to pay for the bridge going over the creek and things like that. I know that you guys will do what's best for the township, but just keep in mind that little subdivision, and you guys brought it up at the last meeting. It's a really nice subdivision with nice houses. It's very safe. Criminals don't come back there because they have to go out Sovereign, and it's easy to catch them. One way in, one way out. We'd really like to keep it that way. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I totally agree. That's my subject.
Is that zoned for apartments back there?
It is, yes.
And it's been zoned to construct apartments?
Yeah, we did not change the zoning on it. It's been zoned R6.
Yeah, I'm not sure where some of these rumors are coming from, but thanks for clearing that up, Dan. As far as no revenue for apartments, there's still revenue for apartments. Our tax base is going to increase exponentially because of this. But yeah, no matter what, there's going to be more traffic back there. There's no getting around it. When somebody buys a piece of property, they have the right to, within zoning, do as they wish. So just wanted to clear up those 2 points.
It's my understanding that that developer can build those apartments regardless of what this Board of Trustees says about the apartments. Is that correct?
According to the zoning, yeah.
Okay.
They don't need any approvals to build those apartments.
Yeah, ideally, I'd love to see some nice single-family houses myself, but I'm not the one that bought the property, so I don't have that decision-making ability.
Okay, let's move forward. Doug Moore, please.
How you doing, Doug?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for being here.
No problem. I'm glad you called me up here. Again, I'm Doug Moore. I live on Sarah's Bend, and I am a neighbor to Mr. Engel here, who just spoke. So he's a bit more prepared with a few more details than I am. But I've lived in Colerain Township for 50 years. I've lived on Sarah's Bend for 25 of the 50. So I just wanted to come here this evening and just express and echo Joe's concerns relative to the through street. Again, when we purchased back there, we understood that there was a farm back there, and we always talked over the years that, geez, it would be, a bummer whenever that property is sold. But at the same time, we certainly didn't expect or hope that the Sovereign would become a through street. Because, as Joe said, a lot of single families back there that have a lot of kids that ride their bikes around, and it's been a great neighborhood for 25 years. So I just wanted to come here tonight and just let you know that there's a lot of families back there that would support not having a through street. And if you want to have apartments or whatever you want to do on the other side of Sovereign, we would appreciate it if you would take us into consideration and cut Sovereign off where it is currently. Because I pray that you take us all the neighbors into consideration as you ponder the options and what that developer wants to do. So that's really all I had to say. I just wanted to kind of throw in my 2 cents, so I appreciate you letting me have my time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming and express your concerns. The next on the list, Jack Cloverdance. Right.
Jack on Zollner?
Jack.
Since you want to pass the Jeff Weiler, there's no need to say anything, right?
Oh, because of
they've
the...
withdrawn their application. Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, so you're not saying anything, right?
Thanks, Jack. You can go get us some pizza now if you'd like.
You don't mind if I throw a Bud Light with it?
The next on the list is Linda Goggle.
Good evening.
Hello, Linda.
I spoke last time on the false alarms, and we had I brought up the code of the 505.511. And I also made a copy of, I guess, the one you're trying to repeal or resolve or whatever, the 2916. And they're trying to have it replaced with a new one from this year. I had some emails back and forth with Chief Denny about this, and I'm still, even though I respect our police department, I'm still at odds at this being sent out to a third party. The ORC 505.511 is very specific in what you can and cannot do. And one of the biggest things is that this isn't something the police have to do. The billing is actually supposed to fall on the financial officer. And I don't know if you all have read the ORC or not. There's also something about that is being brought up to the board to have a permit, a fee for the permit, or that you have to pay like $100 a year for to register your alarms. And I don't see anything in this ORC that mentions anything about having a permit or having to register your alarms. There is some very specific information in here that says that on the fourth alarm it's $50, $100, and then after that it's $150. I don't see anywhere in the ORC 505.511 that says that you can discount it if the business has registered their alarm. Now there may be another ORC out there that I'm not aware of, and if there is, somebody please let me know so that I'm not looking in the wrong places. I'm sure Chief Denny will address it. There's also the fact that it was brought up that there was 2 residents that volunteered to do this, the billing on it, but I don't believe that this ORC, the steps that is very specific in how you're supposed to collect it, was ever followed. So you can't say that it was a fail if you didn't follow what the ORC said in the first place.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next on the list is Alfred Nagel. Alfred Nagel.
Alfred on Zollner.
Oh, Nagel.
I think a couple of the Zollner residents took off.
Okay, then I hear.
I think he was probably here for the car thing.
Yeah.
The next on the list is Kathy Moore, please.
How you doing, Kathy?
First, I just wanted to say that I didn't like how the last meeting was staged. It was planned and it was in very poor taste concerning the Northgate Mall. Do we have a revised contract for Northgate Mall? Have you received that?
I didn't get agreement. Agreement?
We authorized the administrator to deal with it, so he would have it.
Do you have it?
Yeah, are we doing back and forth?
Go and finish your conversation. You'll address, then Jeff will address that.
You had advertised for a town hall meeting and then switched it over to the senior center and just had like a focus group. And that is not a town hall. A town hall is when residents come to you, the board, and tell you what their concerns are for the community. And Raj was the only one that was there.
I was there.
You weren't sitting with anybody.
And I stopped
Still
in.
standing in the door.
Yes.
Let Kathy address it.
Okay.
I was there.
Anyway, you don't get an opportunity to say what concerns you. You're limited to what subjects come up, and so I think you should return to the town hall meeting that you had in March. We always hear that we're always hiring people, and we always hear that we don't have enough people to do that. I find it very, very hard to believe that somebody working 40 hours a week has no downtime to do anything else. When somebody leaves, then the other employees are expected to pick up the slack, whatever that person was doing. Other people should be able to pick it up. They should have the time. And we do not do that. We bring the person back who's practically working as much as she was when she worked here, instead of as a contract employee. So you're wasting our money on that. Other employees should be able to do that. We're always saying we can't do that. I think it's time that the employees realize that there are things they can do and they need to step up and do them. And the only other thing I had was that, Dan, you did announce that Jeff Baker was running for fiscal officer, and now there is another candidate that is running, and I was wondering if you were going to announce that to everybody.
Thank you, Kathy. Stephanie Wright, please.
How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm good, thank you. I'm here tonight and I'd like to speak about the false alarm item that is on the agenda this evening for approval by the board. You know, no matter how many times you read something, you read it sideways, backwards, upside down, something always pops out different every time I read something. And I noticed in this contract tonight that you have before you to approve for this third-party company to handle false alarms for Colerain Township, that the wording in that contract is commercial or residential. Is this for commercial or is this for residential?
according to the chief, this is, you want to first as a commercial.
It's always been commercial, we've never said residential.
Yeah, I also read that commercial/residential.
We've actually said in the meetings that it doesn't include residential, we've been very clear.
So it's not for residential.
It's absolutely not residential.
Well, on the resolution that I'm holding in front of me, it says, and collect charges for false alarms resulting in the malfunction of the same commercial or residential security system within the township. Is that not correct?
Should strike that residential.
I would let Mark will address that when he gets up here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Addition to that, why does it state that it would be signed on September 24th, 2019? Is today not September 10th, 2019? There was a lot of very specific details in there about what the township could expect or what this company is going to supply for us that's located in Texas. I'd like to know if the police department will be having any type of person here on site to receive payments. It says in the agreement that a post office box will be set up to receive payments, and a 1-888 number will be able to be used for people to dial in to pay. So has the board looked into that at all? You know, who's going to be in charge of this post office box? There's also a banking account that's supposed to be set up. Those are all very well spelled out in the attachments to this agreement. I'd also like to know the $100 yearly registration fee. Is that collected 100% by the township, or is that divided between the third company party at 55/45? It doesn't say that in the contract. And in the contract section 2.1, it's for 3 years. Why are we entering into something that we don't know how it's going to work out for 3 years? I think perhaps 1 year might be a good trial period. It also says we have to use the that the section 3.14, it mentions in there about the township's IT department. What level of involvement will our township's IT department have in this tracking? 5.3, it states that there's general liability and auto insurance policies and what the caps are on that. How does a collection agency in Texas need to have coverage on an automobile? Section 6.2, the contractor accepts the terms of the pricing. However, the township can change the amounts at any time. Section 62.1C, the proprietary software is considered loaned to the township. Does the township have to purchase any additional computer software or anything to tie into this system? Section 8.3, if the township sues or cancels the contract, the township will be liable for their attorney fees if they were to cancel this contract. 8.7, who is the township's representative that will be representing the township in this agreement? Speaking of false alarms, the data is very obscure. The police department reports a total number of false alarms for the month. It has not been broken down into commercial or residential alarms. It's just a number. If you go through and look at the data from January to August of this year, an example of false alarms, commercial versus residential, January there were 135 commercial, 76 residential. It does fluctuate back and forth from month to month. The residential and the commercial are pretty even paced as far as time and effort. Even though we would sign to this contract, we would still have to have a police officer respond. There's no way around that. The fees that are incurred are part of what the money allowed for 911 and different Hamilton County resources are based on. They base how many calls are received over the past few years so they know how much money to set aside for that service. I think that'd be taking away from it.
Ms. Wright, would you please wrap it up? Your time's up. Thank you.
The point is, no one has done enough research on this to vote on it, I don't feel. And I don't think that a third-party company in Texas needs to do the job of our police clerks here in the township. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next on the agenda is administrative reports.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal. We'll begin the administrative reports this evening in the fire department with Chief Frank Cook.
Emergency incident activity for August, last month, August. There were 753 emergency medical responses or incidents by the department. There were 165 fire incidents that the department responded to, and 27 responses into the Pleasant Run Farms neighborhood of Springfield Township under the EMS contract. There were 4 incidents of significance that occurred during the month. First one being a building fire on Thursday, August 22nd, that occurred in the 7600 block of Eagle Creek Road. A vehicle fire that occurred on Saturday, August 24th on I-275 near the 33-mile marker. And then another building fire that occurred on Sunday, August the 25th in the 9300 block of Pippin Road. And then the fourth one was a technical rescue incident. It occurred on Thursday, August the 22nd, also in the 3700 block of Struble Road, which was a motor vehicle accident with entrapment.
So what's the condition of that gentleman?
I don't know his current condition, but I was on the scene for that incident, and
I witnessed that accident.
Please.
I saw that accident.
Oh, yeah. Earlier this year, you approved the acquisition of new hydraulic rescue tools for us, and I tell you what, since we've made that purchase, it's really paid off in the time that it takes to extricate people from entrapped vehicles. We've used them on several occasions since the acquisition of them, and I thank you for the approval for that equipment. It's really made a difference in our ability.
Thanks for the tidbit on that.
To do our jobs. So the reported fire loss for the month was approximately $80,904 for the month. Last month, actually, we surpassed $1 million in fire loss this year, which is the first time since 2015. So, I don't have anything that I could equate to that. It's just that 2019 we've had more significant incidents than the previous couple years. So, our average response time for the arrival of the first unit during the month was 5 minutes and 11 seconds, which was a decrease from the previous month. And our first unit on scene in less than 6 minutes occurred 72.19%, which was actually an increase. So from July. So that's a positive performance measure, if you will. The next item I'd like to report on, next several items I'd like to report on is this month and next month is going to be a period of time in which the department's personnel, the department's collaborative efforts, and the township's QRT program is going to receive recognition. And some of the things I'd like to highlight is, number one is tomorrow during the Chamber of Commerce Police and Fire Appreciation Breakfast, firefighter Ron Stanger has been selected as this year's recipient of the Firefighter of the Year. This award is given annually to an employee who has made exceptional contributions through commitment, professionalism, education, dedication to the advancement of emergency and non-emergency services provided to the department. It's a prestigious honor that serves to recognize the best of the best within our ranks. So tomorrow morning during the appreciation breakfast at 8:30, Ron will be presented with this award.
Where is that event is?
Please?
Where is the place that event takes?
It's at the community center.
Okay. Thank you.
Hall A. And speaking of Ron Stanger, just last week, Ron's a member of the Ohio Task Force 1 Urban Search and Rescue Team. We're talking around the time period, tomorrow is September 11th. This is the same USAR team that in 2001 answered the call to New York City during the terrorist attacks up there. Ron is a very dedicated member of this elite team, if you will, and just last week he was activated to Hurricane Dorian. So the team was activated on Sunday the 30th and were dispatched to the Florida area. They were dispatched to Miami, and as the storm moved up the East Coast, also did the team. And during the time while there was no actual engagement by the team, they were on standby in the event that the hurricane had, damaged, areas in the East Coast. So during their deployment time, they traveled from Miami, Florida, all the way up through Georgia and the Carolinas before demobbing, which he actually arrived back home on Sunday evening. So we were represented during this natural disaster. Secondly, the department, again, for its cooperative efforts, is being recognized by the People Working Cooperatively with the Friends of People Working Cooperatively Award. This award is given to agencies that demonstrate partnership in furthering the organization's mission. That award will be presented on October the 8th at 12 o'clock during a presentation and ceremony at Dries Pavilion in Covington, Kentucky. I mentioned the QRT recognition. The agency's been awarded the California Paramedic Foundation Nicholas Rockrantz Award. This is given to EMS agencies in the country that display innovation for the purposes of injury prevention. This award will be presented at a national and international venue on October 16th at the EMS World Expo in New Orleans, Louisiana. On October the 30th, the QRT program, again, will be recognized with the Ohio Innovation Now Award. This award is presented from the Addiction Policy Forum, and it's given to agencies in the state of Ohio that have shown innovation in addressing the opiate epidemic. During this presentation, the governor, and it will be presented by the governor in the State House. So, our QRT program, partnership between the police department and the fire department, is to be commended. After its inception, it continues today to be recognized and as a model program across the country for the efforts. And then lastly, the Bureau of Justice Assistance Comprehensive Opioid Abuse Program. The Township was presented with a Menard Site Award. This is recognition as a national site for training and implementing first responder diversion programs. This will be presented on October the 1st. They will present funding to help offset costs associated with trainings and providing diversion training programs. And then lastly, Bob Relag, the department's Special Projects Manager, has been selected to receive the 2019 Ohio Fire Service Distinguished Service Award. This prestigious award is conferred on individuals whose contributions to the leadership of the fire service within the state of Ohio, whose actions have served not just their community, but have contributed significantly to the fire service on a regional, statewide, and national basis, and whose leadership and accomplishments are widely recognized and respected in the state of Ohio's fire service community. Bob spends a lot of time in this community in the fire service, contributing to community risk reduction. He provides dissemination of information to the press, following fires and things like that. He just provides a great deal of service, not only to the department, but to the community.
He's been around a very long time.
Yeah. Yes. He's also part of the CCA, picks up trash twice a month.
Historically,
Guy's amazing.
Bob's done a great deal for this community. Matter of fact, I still have the typed letter from back in 1984 when he hired me. So, he's been around for a long time.
I was in diapers.
Bob joins the illustrious company of Colerain's former fire chiefs Ploy Snyder and Bruce Smith, and firefighter Paul Riedel as a recipient of this celebrated award. Bob will be honored during an award ceremony on Wednesday, September 18th at the State Fire Marshal's office in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate him on this award and thank him for his contributions, not only to our organization and the community, but to the fire service across the country. Thank you very much.
Chief, I want to mention, I think I mentioned earlier to a few meetings, any opiate conference I used to go, they always mention the big conferences that Colerain Township Fire Department and the Police Department, the number one in the innovation of the QRT. And it's amazing how you guys doing and contain this opiate epidemic in Colerain Township.
Well,
Outstanding service you both guys are doing.
After, its inception, it still continues to receive notoriety, and, Chief Mueller receives calls on a regular basis, people inquiring about the program and its effectiveness, and, Chief Denny and his personnel, and certainly the fire department personnel, are being commended for their extra efforts that they put forth to make this program a success.
Amen. I would echo Raj's sentiment. You can't watch the news without seeing them praising Colerain's QRT program.
Yeah. I want to mention that last year we wrote the SAMHSA, about SAMHSA, Federal Substance Abuse, the solicit, they want to select Ohio, submit to do a study site. And if we get selected, $120 million will be awarded. And, the approach, I wrote a letter of cooperation with the Health Department and Commissioner Niehaus, and with the University of Cincinnati, University of Ohio State. And a few weeks ago, I found out Ohio State has been selected as a study site. It'd be like prevention and treatment, help them. So they gave like $60 million to UC's, $60 million to the Ohio State. Hopefully, we'll get some funding for the program. So that's a good
every little bit helps to continue the program and its efforts. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I want to thank Chief Denny also for the good work.
Very good. Next we have Chief Denny giving the administrative report from the police department.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
For the month of August 2019, the police department responded to 4,170 calls for service. That's an average of 174 calls per day. We responded to 276 vehicle crashes, 65 of those with injuries, and we had one fatality. We've had 5 fatalities this year so far, so this has not been a great year, and several of those have been pedestrians, so we are working, we have several efforts in the southern part of the township to combat that. 34 hit skip investigations, 414 traffic stops that resulted in 318 traffic citations, 8 DUI arrests, 211 alarm drops, 207 of those, or 98%, were false. Of those, only 4 repeats were residential addresses. 21 of our business addresses had repeats. So obviously the problem is not our residents, it's the businesses. 58% of all calls were responded to within 5 minutes. We made 215 arrests, and 54 new cases were assigned for investigation, and that makes 183 open cases that are currently under investigation by our detectives. Tomorrow morning at the awards breakfast, Officer Dale Woods will be recognized as our Officer of the Year, and for the reasons that are fairly obvious, I'm sure. His dedication and his sacrifice to the township will be recognized. Brandon came up and gave the crime report for the month. What we do with those reports is on the Thursday after the first board meeting, we have a staff meeting of all the supervisors in the police department. He attends that as well, and he will present those reports to the supervisors, and that's where we work on our response and what we're going to do to actually impact those numbers. So each month we're going to have a check and balance back where when he comes back and presents the next month, we'll talk about what we did and how the impact of how we responded actually made an impact. So there's more to it than him standing up here at just the board meetings and giving those numbers out. There's a lot of work that goes behind that, and then we're going to use it to make a difference. On the alarm ordinance, I could not keep up with the questions, so if there's any particular questions you have, I'd be happy to answer those.
Chief, would you say that if somebody has a list of questions that's lengthy like that, wouldn't it be best to send you an email beforehand so that you'd be able to research and get answers to those questions?
Certainly, I respond to my emails within a day, so an email or a phone call, I would be happy to answer all those questions.
So any resident that has questions about any item on the agendas are published on Friday before the meeting, so about 96 hours before the meeting. So you have all weekend to look at it, and if there's any questions, we're all happy to answer. So,
I think that's a great idea, Jeff. And the residents, if they send the question but through emails, we'll be more prepared. The administration will be more prepared. Chiefs will be more prepared to answer questions.
I did have a question about the date on that. I think I mentioned that to you last week. It says September 24th. I don't know if we motion, if this does pass, and I don't know how it's going to go, but.
Ms. Harlow has a corrected.
I have a corrected
Okay.
copy.
Resolution has a correct date on it.
Okay. That would be all, and I guess when that item comes up, we'll have more of a discussion on it.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Great work.
All right, so you might notice that the administrative reports are going pretty quickly. That's because we're down almost half of our leadership team right now. So currently we have 7 department heads, which would include myself and Jeff Weckbach. We're missing 3 people as we sit here tonight, and it was brought up earlier in citizen address, but it's not something that we can always just absorb. I mean, we can't, when you're missing half of your staff, you can't just absorb all of that work. So to give the board a report here, the planning director, Mike Iona, was hired at the last meeting. He begins work on Thursday. We can't wait for him to get here.
Excellent.
He has a ton of energy, and can't wait for the community to meet him. We continue to accept applications for the finance director position. We are not going to make a decision on we're not going to hire just anybody. This is a very important job, and we're not going to lower our standards. We need to hire somebody that's spectacular and gets the job done. It's very, very important. So we continue to advertise. We just started advertising 2 weeks ago with the Government Finance Officers Association in an effort to sort of nationalize the search, and so we continue to get applicants on that job. And then, of course, at the last trustee meeting, Mr. Schwartzoff announced that he was leaving. His last day was last Friday, so this will be the first week that we are without Mr. Schwartzoff. We've already received and are actively recruiting individuals for that role. So we are working hard to build back our strength. Next item, last evening, the Northwest Local School District Board approved the MOUs for the Duke TIF and the Sovereign Road TIF. So we now have fully executed versions of the MOUs, and I have directed our legal team to begin work on drafting the legislation necessary to create those 2 TIF projects. As the chiefs mentioned, tomorrow is a really important event for our community. It's put on by the Colerain Township Chamber of Commerce, and they host an event that recognizes our police and fire, and I'm very appreciative to the chamber for continuing that tradition. Before them, it was the CTBA, the Colerain Township Business Association, did this. It's really important, and it means a lot to our guys and gals. So that will be a great event. And then I just wanted to, sometimes, one of the things I appreciate a lot about Chief Cook is that he is, if you haven't noticed, he is level. He is steady, and he's got his hand on the rudder, and it's not wavering. But one of the things that sometimes can get lost is he just said that in the last couple of weeks, Colerain Township Fire Department has been recognized by 4 different organizations with awards. I mean, that is incredible. That's incredible. Our police and fire, and right now fire is is in the limelight for good reason. They are doing incredible work, and they're being recognized across the nation, across the state, and we are so fortunate to have that resource in our community.
Amen.
And we're so fortunate for the support that the residents have given that organization to be successful. And so I just wanted to underscore that a little bit, because man, that doesn't happen every day, you know. I asked him to summarize, because I kept getting emails from Chief Mueller saying, "Hey, we won this award, we won this award." I was like, that's incredible. So we are very fortunate to have them in our lives. And that's the end of my administrative report.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. The next on the agenda is trustees report. You guys want to go first?
Yeah, I can lead us off. It looks like 4 of the 6 local candidates running for office for here. I just want to acknowledge them. This is, in my opinion, the most rewarding job anyone could ever have. But I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, and I have other goals. So I will happily help whoever fills my seat, and I wish everyone the best of luck over the next couple months. The Historical Society asked me to announce that it's not too late to register for the 5K walk and run Saturday the 28th. Also, I want to thank the kids at summer camp for making me this shirt. They did tie-dye over the summer, and I gave them a dress shirt, and this is what came of it. And the summer before that, they made me a bow tie. It's actually a coffee filter. If anybody wants some coffee afterwards, I'll give you my bow tie. And then last but not least, on a serious note, I don't think anyone in here is too young to remember September 11th. I had just graduated high school myself, and at that age, I don't know if you really can truly realize the magnitude of what was happening. But if everybody would just, keep anybody infected by that and their thoughts and prayers, that would mean a lot to, I'm sure, them and everyone else. So just want to keep everyone involved, everyone that has a memory of that and their thoughts and prayers, and of course all the first responders and everyone that all the innocent victims of that tragedy. So that's all for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Raj. In response to a couple of the citizen comments, I know that the city of Cincinnati has an alarm registration program also, because the business I work for pays a fee that is more than what's proposed here. There was a comment that I announced that Jeff Baker was running for fiscal officer. When I announced that, he was the only candidate. Apparently there was an appeal at the Board of Elections to relook at a couple of the signatures. So in fairness, and I see the candidates, and Greg pointed out, if the people that are running for office that are in this room would just stand so the rest of you can see who they are. And if you just not to turn it into a political
not all of them are standing.
If you would just, Joe, stand up.
Joe.
Can you stand up, Joe? There you go.
Hey, there he is.
If you four would just state your name, just so you guys can see who these guys are.
It's out of order.
Just your name is?
Matt Waller, Jeff Baker. I'm Joe Wolterman.
And that's who's here right now. So, okay, that comment was made, so I just wanted to give those that are here a chance to say who they were. So there's 2 things, and one is, it's back in June, I was challenged to go back and look through the minutes and see what I could learn, and I've got another year under my belt to the end of the term of the previous clerk through 2004, and I just wanted to give a copy of that to my fellow trustees so that it becomes a public record at that point. One of the interesting tidbits I picked up out of that was on somewhere in here, we hired a guy named, on February 10th, 2004, Mark Denny was sworn in as a Colerain police officer. So, and there's all kinds of good stuff in there if anybody wants to read it. The only other thing I wanted to talk about is I did get an email from a resident that asked, make sure you remember what 9/11 was. Now, I was 40 years old at the time. I guess I was 39, coming up on 40. I remember where I was that day. I was at work, like I usually am, and we had a TV in the back room, and my employer's wife called and said, turn on the TV, and she didn't say why, and we were sitting there watching it, and saw the one tower on fire, and then just right out of the blue, like so many of you, I don't see anybody in this room that's not old enough to remember it, I remember seeing that second plane hit the building, and that was bad. And about 20 or 30 minutes later, just watching all this live on TV, we found out that that plane hit the Pentagon. And then an hour after that, we saw a plane crash in Pennsylvania. And even though it was 18 years ago, I still remember that. And that resident that sent me that really got me thinking about it. And I would ask all of you to think about what your feelings and emotions were at that time, and what our national response was. And I don't hold it against any people except the people that were involved in orchestrating those horrible events of that day. There's some folks out there that just do not like our American system, where we have meetings like this where the public can speak, where men and women are treated equally, where you're free to practice the religion that you want. Those are the people that attacked us. And I would like to think we have overcome that. Yeah, there's been a lot of changes in society. If you go to the baseball or football game, you're searched going into place. Those of us that are old enough remember before all that came into place. My wife and I were in New York in 1989, and we happened to go up on the old World Trade Center tower. And at home, I have a few photographs of the nice view of New York you had from there. And then I was fortunate enough to be there in December of 2015, and I would encourage anybody that can get to New York to go see the 9/11 Museum. It is not at all politically correct. It is the story of what happened, and it's preserved in that museum. And it is, the night I was there, it was in the evening. It's a huge place. There was probably 2,000 people in there, and it was as quiet as this room is right now. And there's just all kinds of horrible memorabilia that are on the walls, just so people don't forget that. There's a couple crushed fire trucks in there. There was the television tower that fell off the top. In sorting through the wreckage, they found the twisted up I-beams from where the plane impacted the building, and they've got them bracketed up on the wall. And that was a horrible thing. So to answer that resident's question, no, I have not forgot it. I don't think anybody in this room has. So God rest the souls of all the people that perished that day, and those of our fine military who responded to that and overcame the situation. So yes, we all remember that. It was tomorrow, 18 years ago. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. If I could, real quick, there is the I-beam, one of the I-beams is actually on display at the corner of Colerain Galbraith and the Gateway Memorial. And if anybody wants to go there and say their piece, you're obviously more than welcome to. But it's an interesting piece of history that's right here in our township. If someone's looking for a spot to maybe share their condolences, that would be probably a good spot. Thank you.
It's true that a bunch of evil people attacked our country. Thousands of Americans died. From that day onwards, we became a very stronger country. You've never seen a stronger like this before. But everyone still remembers 9/11 and keep us stronger and stronger every time we remember this. And we are united, and we're still fighting against the evil people. It's not going to end. We'll keep on fighting those evil people, destroyed our people. So keep remembering those victims in our prayers, their families, and our firefighters and our policemen lost their lives. So on the report, I'd like to bring in a couple of things very important. Last Sunday around 8:30, I was coming down the Stribble Road towards Colerain. I saw a guy riding that motorcycle, and he came up to make a right turn on the Colerain Avenue. He had one of three-wheel drive motorcycle, and he tried to take a turn, but hit the pedestrian, the divider, and rolled over here, thrown out of the motorcycle. So I was going to park my car and to come back. Then we all tried to call 911. Within 5 minutes, there was police officers, firefighters, ambulance was there, rescue that man. He was pretty bad injury he had. That's the first time I saw our people, firefighters, that policemen, work together, and they saved the police officer, secured the scene immediately within a minute, and the firefighters, the ambulance people, able to give them first aid and put them in an ambulance within a minutes. So it's a remarkable job. I saw firsthand how our people so more efficient in doing the job. I really applaud their hard work saving the community. That gives me thought, that Struble Road intersection, dangerous place, was within this year about 6 crashes happened. I saw 2 accidents before, but not as a witness, but there's already accidents. And I called the ODOT. That's a very dangerous intersection, Colerain Avenue, very dangerous. I call ODOT. I need to come and right away talk to you guys how we can protect that area. Today, I went there front of they meet the safety board meet twice or once in 2 months. So I went in front of the safety board today. I told them how to protect, how to safeguard that divider. Very dangerous place. The lights are very dangerous. If people coming from the south from Colerain and past Struble Road, there's no arrow lights there. It's only arrow lights, intersection of Colerain, Struble, turning to Colerain. So I told them, you have to do something about this, because I saw that accident right in front of my eyes. Because of the small divider, the guy probably is too dark. You couldn't see the divider, and the motorcycle hit, rolled over 3-4 times. So they said, we're going to take action. I want to take action right now, not next year, or 2 years from now. So what they plan to do on the Struble Road, on the intersections where the divider is, they're going to put cones, big yellow cones, not cones, I mean,
Pylons.
Almost like a pipe, huh?
Pylon.
Yeah, pylon. The one near the Banning Road, how they put that. So it will be more visible when the people make a turn. They're going to install that right away. Okay, that's number one. Number two, they're going to put like a traffic lights. They're going to change the whole traffic lights. That's the next step. On the south, Colerain Avenue southbound, they're going to put an arrow sign, turn signal from Colerain Avenue to Struble Road. Okay, that way the cars will park and to make a different lane. And, that is amazing because these people are very, very helpful. ODOT, they're great people, and they're going to do this. And also I mentioned about there's no lights from the Banning Road to Calbert. That's why our officer got killed, Dale Woods. There's no lights. So what are you going to do? We need to do the lighting on this whole dark. So they're going to also work with our township, the funding for that. Meantime, they told me there's a funding available. It's called Safety Fund. It should be applied by this September. I mentioned to our administrator, Jeff, earlier, and we can be able to get some funding for that. The next funding cycle will be on April. So we try to apply for the fund, the Safety Fund, by, if we apply by end of September, we may be able to get some money for that. So that's one thing I really want to stress. I know KZF doing all the study, but Colerain Avenue is 146 crashes there all along. I got all the reports here, all the crashes there. They're also one of the dangerous intersections in the state, Colerain Avenue. Very vulnerable for the accidents, crashes. So hopefully this all will change. Second thing also, I mentioned a long time ago when I was there, I'd like to bring in in Colerain, Cincinnati Children's Hospital here, our children's clinic. And I was in the hospital commission meeting this morning. I met the CFO, some of the people from the Cincinnati Children's. I told them, but we need children's hospital here. Small, not a big hospital, at least a Cincinnati Children's Hospital. So they invite me. I've got to set up a time with them. I'm going to go and talk to them. hopefully we'll have a children's hospital here in Colerain Township. The one closest to one is in the Green Township. So this will be, I don't know how long it will take, but we plan to go and talk to them. Okay, that's two things I really want to report, which is very sincere to our Colerain Township. Okay. Next, we move on to the new business.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal and Board of Trustees. We begin our new business tonight with the Police Department and Police Chief Mark Denny. If you don't mind, it appears as though a couple of these are out of order. Could we do A and then D and then E, which are all police items? Do you mind if we do that?
Sure.
Great. Okay, so we'll bring Chief Denny up, and we'll begin with a grant acceptance. If you do your all of yours at the same time, so A, D, and E.
I think I have everything but B as me.
Okay, very good. Let's do it all.
Sorry.
Yep.
First item is a motion to accept a $48,000 grant from the Ohio Attorney General for the QRT team that Chief Cook was speaking about earlier. This grant is a continuation for the quick response team, and thanks especially to the hard work of Assistant Chief Will Mueller, we can continue our efforts at reducing our overdoses in the township.
I would motion that we accept the $48,000 grant funding.
And I'll offer a second.
Any discussions?
Not for me.
I appreciate you and Chief Cook always being out looking for grants. As we've discussed, that's the alternative to raising taxes. So you're doing a great job. You have brought stuff to us at almost every meeting. So no other discussion from me.
Thank you, Chief, applying for this grant.
Thank you.
Shall I call the roll?
Yeah.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Next item is recommend adoption of a motion to accept a $250 donation from Dave Suter. Mr. Suter made the donation in appreciation for the officers who made the burglary arrest in the area of his business on Thompson Road. What should be noted is that Mr. Suter and several other residents took active role in assisting our officers. So it was a nice combined effort that our officers were able to get there quickly, but with the help of the residents, we were able to capture all the suspects involved in those burglaries. And he just wanted to reach out and say thank you for the effort.
Much appreciated. I'll make the motion.
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Suter.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Next item is recommend adoption of a motion to amend and replace the Colerain Township false alarm resolution, which is 2916. This replacement requires registration of all businesses' alarms in the township and sets a fine schedule for repeated offenses.
I'll make the motion.
I second it. Okay, discussions?
Not from me.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barbier, was this the item that is the resolution, or is that the next item? I'm sorry.
First one was resolution.
So we need to note the resolution.
The resolution's title was Resolution Establishing a Fee for False Alarms.
Right.
Yep.
I just want to be positive.
Yep.
And take that.
You got it.
Final item is recommend adoption of a motion to permit Township Administrator Jeff Mills to sign an agreement with PMAM to administer the Township's false alarm resolution. PMAM is an experienced company that handles education, enforcement, and billing of false alarm resolutions nationwide. PMAM will collect the fees, the fines, dividing the proceeds with the Township at a 55-45 in favor of the Township rate. There are no additional costs to the Township, and the current method for enforcement and collection has failed.
I'll make the motion.
And I will second it.
Any discussions?
Yes, this is something we've talked about on and off since April of 2018, perhaps, yes. right after we started.
Is that the last time you brought it to us? April of
yes.
18? Okay.
Yes. And there have been thousands of false alarms since then. One of my questions was, so if we have a business that's had an alarm system for a very long time and has never been a problem and has never had a false trip, I don't necessarily want to go have that business be compelled to register their alarm, and I'm guessing they're really not. I'd have to think about that a little more, but for that business, if he's never been a problem, then I don't look at it as a cost for them. However, if they're not registered, there's a fine schedule that starts with this.
If they have excessive false alarms, yes. If they don't, then there's no fine and there's no penalty.
So I don't want to go tag somebody that's been a good, upstanding, alarm, abiding by the rules business. So I know I discussed that with you earlier on the phone last week, and so that was my concern with it. As far as these false alarms that we have, I guess a false alarm trips a call to 911, which is a cost for the township, and then you send two police officers out to investigate that false alarm, which is prudent, because if it's a real one, I want you to have more there than two, but I guess that's the protocol, is to have two. And if whatever number you gave any given month, 95 or 97% of these are false, that's a lot of manpower, a lot of hours, and a lot of billing of signed purchase orders to the 911 call center to cover our cost. That is a huge cost that we're paying in 911 fees, and which reminds me to always remind our residents that if it's a non-emergency, call 321 cops. We don't pay that. Is it $16 or $17?
$16 now.
Yeah, we don't pay that when you. But if it's obviously if it's an emergency, call 911. If it's not, call 321 cops. We dispatch right out of that other room, and we get there pretty quick. So that was my concern about this, is for the guy who's never, the man or woman who's got a business that's never been a problem and has always abided by the rules, this isn't going to cost them anything.
Correct.
Any further?
I guess as far as I'm concerned, we've essentially given you since April of 18 to come up with a solution, and we've got to do something, because obviously what we're doing now isn't working. So, I'm in favor of trying something, and if unfortunately if this doesn't work, then we'll try something again. But what we've been doing obviously isn't working. So, I'm in support of,
I think what's important to note, and it is a 3-year contract, but there's a 30-day out clause that can only be exercised by the township and is without cause. We can do it for any reason we decide without any penalty to the township at all. So we do have that ability if we move down the line here and we find out this isn't working for us or we have a problem with that. So the company does not have that ability. We are the only ones that have that in the contract.
It reminds me, one of the other questions I asked you is an appeal process. Suppose I'm a business that had some special circumstance and was tripping a lot of alarms for whatever reason, and they were all false, and I get a fine. Is there an appeal process, and please describe it?
There is, and it starts off with the actual officer that goes to the scene. We've made it pretty clear to our guys that if there's any doubt at all why the alarm went off, we cite on the fact that it's a good alarm. So if the door's wide open, if there's anything that we're not sure about, we assume that it is a good alarm. We only label it as a false alarm when there is a malfunction of the system or an employee who sets it off incorrectly or improperly. So that's the first level of that. The second one is once they had 4 false alarms, they can write an appeal to me. I pull out all the incident reports, I review those, and I can give a written opinion within 7 days of what our status is on that. They then have the ability to appeal that to the Board of Trustees for a final decision on whether we move forward with the fine process or not. So there is a process for all the business owners to bring that forward if they feel like they've been improperly fined for that.
Okay, and those were my 2 concerns. So.
I talked about this last time you brought it, Chief. I think you got a good intention to bring this resolution. And what I got a problem is, number one, where is the transparency? We're big on transparency. Whatever you do, let people know beforehand so they'll be ready for this. Something this business community here in Colerain not aware of this, and we're going to pass the resolution, it's going to slap on them. Number one, we've never been announced this is going to happen or written to the business community here in Colerain Township, and hey, we're going to do this. We're going to plan to do that. Most of the people I talk to doesn't know about this. Where is the transparency? Number two, we're going to start charging people to register permit, get the permit $100. They're not ready for it. Another thing, third thing I'm really concerned is we're giving all our information, the business information, to the company somewhere in Texas, and they have all the database of our business. And we saw that even our police database got people got hold of it, and we lost it. And a lot of, in the police department, they intervene, they hijack everything, the database. And here's the company coming from somewhere in Texas, they got all this, our business information. As there's too much to give to those people, our community is based, our community business information. Most importantly, I talked to the big companies, alarm company, and I also sat with the Hamilton County, the communication director. What the new alarm system are doing, they are developing a database and a software system that automatically inform the business, okay? If something comes, before you even contact the police, and they will contact automatically, the system is going to come very soon. They're already in the process of making the system. I talked to the ADT people, some other company, Protection One, and other companies. One other company also spoke. And they are building this database system. When the false alarm comes like that, they will contact, automatically system will dial the business kind of alert. And then after that, then they'll dispatch, it'll go to the dispatch. And this is the one that, the communication director also confirmed this on the work. So these are the things I think we wait to move forward this when the system become effective. Here, we are charging this the business $100, something like that. I don't know the business community is ready for this right now. Maybe we can wait longer a little bit. We can move forward. Thank you, Chief.
Did you have another comment, Greg?
No, I think Chief wanted to respond, though.
I just, one important thing, our database was not hacked or accessed by anyone on the outside. They lost the data. There was never any nefarious people that got any of that data. I just want to be sure that was clear to everybody. None of that data fell in anyone else's hands at all.
I thought it happened to the many other police department also. It was kind of, an assumption was that kind of they stolen. That's what I understood.
That was not the case. It was just a failure of the disks in the backup systems. Yes. And they recovered 95% of that, but no, none of that fell into anyone's hands that didn't have access to that.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, any further discussions?
Not from me.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Abstain.
And Mr. Unger?
No, I'm sorry, yes. You trapped me. My vote is yes on the
Your
alarm
vote is
package.
yes. So we have a yes, an abstain, and a yes.
That is correct.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you. And next we have Chief Frank Cook, who has one item this evening.
All right, the only item I have this evening is to request authorization for the acceptance of grant funding in the amount of $5,386.80 from the Ohio Bureau of Workmen's Compensation, Firefighters Exposure to Environmental Elements Grant. The purpose of the grant funding source is to support the acquisition of personal protective equipment, hoods, that will potentially block harmful contaminants and carcinogens that the firefighters are exposed to during firefighting activities. The department's obligation for the project is $1,077.25.
I would motion that we accept the grant funding from the Ohio Bureau of Workmen's Compensation.
I second it. Any,
Chief, thank you for going out and finding grants.
You're welcome. Thank you.
that's great work, Chief, getting this grant. Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Inscombe?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is a item from the Planning and Zoning Department. It is the it's the resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement. The recommendation is is to approve. This resolution that declares nuisance and orders abatement of the following, it orders the abatement of the following properties: 3408 Alamosa, 2813 Brampton, 9952 Capstan, 2338 Cranbrook, 2843 Cranbrook, 3120 Deschler, 2841 Hanoi, 3174 Laverne, 8806 Nabita, 3109 Nightfall, 6393 Oak Creek, 2786 Overdale, 10855 Penarth, 2794 Petabago, 10178 Pottinger, 1071 Shipley.
Jeff, is your mic on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
10032 Sturgeon, 11475 Swissvale, 11957 Walden, 9953 Weatherly. Recommendation is to adopt that resolution.
I motion that we adopt the resolution.
I'll offer a second.
Any discussion, please?
Yes, you read 11957 Walden. Was the second last one.
11957, yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No other discussion from me.
Okay, any discussions?
Not for me either.
So roll call, please.
Mr. Inscombe?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. Next items are in administration. We have a motion for your consideration to authorize the Township Administrator to execute an electrical aggregation contract with Dynegy Energy. As of today, we received the prices. The prices of electric fluctuate daily, but the prices that we'll be able to lock in with an affirmative vote tonight reduce costs to the township by 5%. So that's a positive. That's a positive number. So the numbers in 2020, we will be paying 4.25 cents per kilowatt hour in 2020. We'll be paying 4.29 cents per kilowatt hour in 2021, and 4.29 cents per kilowatt hour in 2022. And then 2023, we'll be paying 4.28 cents per kilowatt hour. So the recommendation is to authorize the administrator to execute this aggregation contract.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any discussions?
Not from me.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Inscombe?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
And I'd like to take a second to thank Assistant Administrator Weckbach for working on that project. He did the negotiation with Dynegy on this, and it turned out very well.
Thank you, Jeff.
And also, since we're talking about energy, I'll just take this opportunity to share with the board that the LED lighting retrofit is nearly complete. So residents should be seeing in different parts of town LED lights instead of the old halogen lights, which is pretty exciting. It's not on every street light. It's just the ones that are in the lighting district that the township pays for. Okay, the next item on the agenda it was requested to be placed on the agenda by Trustee Insco. It is a motion to authorize the execution of a contract with KZF Design for the design, preparation of construction documentation, and permit application for gateway improvements at the intersection of Colerain Avenue and 275. The agenda packet included an estimate of cost. Since the publication of the agenda packet, KZF Design has prepared a proposal. That proposal came in slightly higher at $22,618. The deliverables with this project is they will design, create construction documentation that we then will put out to bid, and then they will work to get the permit through ODOT, because this project occurs on ODOT right-of-way. And so the recommendation was, we're seeking your guidance. This was not something that was budgeted, but we know that it's a priority, and so we wanted to do the due diligence and give you the opportunity to consider it.
Thank you. I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it to get it on the floor.
Okay, discussions?
Yeah, it's been a long time overdue now. I mean, our front door is very important. It's looked horrible for a long time now, and it's just tired of talking about it. There's no grant. We've exhausted resources trying to find grant money and hoping ODOT would step up, and they're just not willing to. So it's just time. It's just time to finally make it happen.
And you got.
Sure. If you go around 275, you will see improvements at most of the other interchanges. Ours is in need of improvement, and I would tend to support Greg on what he wants to do with this. This particular stretch of Colerain Avenue is outside of the design area from the contract we approved, right, however long ago that was, within the past year maybe. And I'm certainly interested in seeing how it turns out, and I just think it's critical to have a professional design with stamped permitted plans. Yes. So we can have a document, so if we decide to build something there, we have a determined plan by licensed architects and engineers and that type of thing. So
okay. I have a little problem with this. We almost a year we paid what, $96,000 to $98,000 to KCF, to Colerain purification. I didn't even get the report yet.
It's not finished.
Yeah, it's not finished, Raj.
It's not finished.
No one
almost a year. Almost a year. You know how long it takes to make the design. You know, we paid close to $100,000. Okay, taxpayers' money. Taxpayers' money. You all paid. I didn't get the report.
No one has.
Now, Colerain is also, it's ODOT, that's my argument before. I talked to the people in ODOT today. Okay, that's good. You needed new designs, everything. I didn't get the report. Why are you giving the more money to the guy who didn't even give the report yet? Almost a year. And there should be a part of this all Colerain Avenue. It's all Colerain Avenue. That should be a part of Colerain Avenue in the study. Why you want to dump them another $22,000, your money? Your money. Another $22,000. I got a problem. Okay? Simple thing. We already dumped a lot of money. Nothing I have not seen yet. So that's my argument.
Have we paid for that deliverable on that?
Not completely. So that's the payment comes as they prepare deliverables. They had a timeline that was established at the beginning that shows them. I believe that we're going to be adopting it in November. We still are doing outreach. We have partnered with the Colerain Chamber of Commerce to and sent a postcard to every business on Colerain Avenue to solicit their feedback on this, because they're proposing some very significant changes to Colerain Avenue, and so we really want to make sure that we get everybody's feedback. We had the Rotunda series. They came and presented here at trustee meetings on their progress, and so it's always been a year-long project that is expected to be completed in November. And this, every aspect of the design of Colerain Avenue is not included in the scope. So, so we didn't ask them to do gateway designs to like construction documentation or any other level. So it just wasn't included in the scope of the other.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And to that, I would say that over the years, we've all seen a lot of businesses come and go on Colerain Avenue, and the usage has changed. I would say, for instance, where Big Lots was, they had a whole different traffic pattern than the fitness center, I guess, that's in there now. There's been a lot of places that have come and gone, and the accesses and ways to get in and out of those businesses have changed. The stop-and-go lights might not be where they need to be, and just a lot of things have changed over the last 30 to 40 years, and the design of the access to the road hasn't kept up with it, and that was the thinking when we approved the year-long project sometime within the past year. I just can't remember what meeting that was at, and so it's on schedule to be done in November, and we have not paid for the deliverables we have not received, to the best of your knowledge.
Not 100%. We, there was a set of deliverables that was included in the contract that we signed, and as they move forward through their work, we pay them. In fact, I just saw an invoice today for $6,700, I think. So we pay them in stages. It's not a lump sum at the end or in the beginning.
Great, and I just think that we need to, if we let it go on another 20 years, nothing's going to match up right. Look at the usage that's changed with the access points for Northgate Mall, and the light that's there, and what's come and gone across the street, and I mean, that's why we're trying to keep up with it, and the amount of time that people spend, that they lose sitting in traffic every day is a lot more than, that is a lot of money, Raj, I agree, but the amount of time that's lost by people daily.
Dan, do you know that, that ODOT's going to change all that lighting system in a radar things?
I don't doubt that someday, way down the road,
they're going to do it. They're going to do it next year.
Maybe even in my lifetime, so.
See, I talked with this ODOT people today, the safety board people, the whole bunch of people there, front of the whole, they came from all over the district.
I think we're pretty far down on their list.
Anything we do,
For sure.
we need to have consult with the ODOT itself first.
We did.
Okay, I don't think so. When the KCF did, we ever talked to ODOT?
It was per your direction that we contacted ODOT, and they weren't willing to help.
I talked to the director on this, before voting this issue.
ODOT requires a permit application that requires an architect or engineer. So if we want to get a permit, if you guys would like to construct a gateway at 275, this is the process that we have to do, because ODOT won't do the engineering and architecture for us. They require us to do the architecture and engineering as part of the permitting process. And then we take it to ODOT and say, please give us a permit to install these improvements in your right-of-way. And then they give us a permit, and then we put the project out to bid.
Yeah.
Okay, any further questions?
No other comments from me.
Okay. Heather, roll call, please.
Real quick, final comment. Rarely is anything in life free. I don't think anyone thought our beautification initiatives were going to be free, but I think our residents and our businesses deserve this. So it's a long time overdue, and I'm excited to finally make some headway with beautifying our community. That's all for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Unska?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm going to rescind that. I want to say no. I'm sorry, I don't think. Okay, I want to.
So your vote is no?
My word is no.
Okay, let me start over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So Mr. Unska is yes, Mr. Rajagopal is no, and Mr. Unger is yes.
That is correct.
That's correct. Sorry.
Very good. Thank you, Board. The next item on the agenda, the Board wanted to consider the performance and compensation of the Township Administrator.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
No, I think we need to discuss it. Is that okay, Raj?
Go ahead.
Okay.
First, we have motion. You're going to approve this.
Larry?
Larry, you got the motion for this?
You don't need a motion just to discuss the performance of the administrator. If you wanted to do something with respect to his compensation, then you need a motion.
So we can just discuss it
Go
this
ahead,
point.
discuss.
It's my belief that every employee deserves to be evaluated periodically. When Raj and I started on this board, the previous administrator had left right before we started here, and we came in the door without an administrator. And Jeff Mills was the assistant administrator, and I believe shortly after that we appointed you temporary administrator, and that went on through an administrator search for 4 months, and I think it was finally in late April. You had assumed the role of administrator, but we formalized that, I want to say it was April 25th or so of 2018. So you've been working without an evaluation since April of 18, so what's that, 16 months now? And I just think the Board of Trustees has an employee, and it's Jeff, and then you take care of the evaluations of everybody that in the flow chart is answers to you. So some of the things that I'd like to say is attendance. Jeff attends many meetings outside of normal hours. His work ethic, from an economic development standpoint, Jeff's always out beating the bushes and working to bring new businesses to Colerain. And I appreciate your enthusiasm that even in the face of some harsh criticism occasionally, you always manage to smile about that. One of our first challenges when we started in 18, where the agendas were not getting out quick enough, by our second meeting, we have the agendas getting out 96 hours before the meeting. So they're usually posted by the end of the day Friday, and the meetings are Tuesday evenings, so we're 96, 97 hours, and that's been huge to get all that organized and get that together. Customer service, you listen to everyone, including any resident, whether they're berating you or praising you, and you're very patient with the residents and patient with the three of us. I often questioned your sanity of anybody who would work for an elected board. That could change every 2 years, but you understand that part of the process. One of the things that could slightly improve is some of these agenda items. It's great that we're getting them out on Friday, but if something comes up, a week and a half ahead of time, and you have a way of communicating that individually to the three of us, you could communicate that a little sooner. Communication. Speaking for myself, I've never had a problem getting a hold of you, and you're pretty responsive. And if you don't know something, you say, "Hey, I don't know," and let me get back to you. The results that you achieve. You have gone out and found all kinds of sidewalk grants, and pretty much covered your salary just in the grants that you found.
Many times over.
Your work on the Duke project and the John Rose project, phenomenal. That's changed that whole part of Colerain Avenue.
And the best is yet to come.
There's a lot of people waiting for that, including the guy that owns the bike store. So, your economic development work matches even people in the audience are so enthusiastic about this, they can't restrain themselves. This is great. Your economic development work, I think that's what your specialty is. In a tough environment where it's tough to bring brick and mortar businesses places when everybody's doing stuff online, you've turned the tide on that, and you're bringing new businesses and helping people understand the benefits of being in Colerain. You tend to meet with the right people, including the county engineer and other county elected officials, and you attend OKI, and that's where a lot of these grants come from. And you have a unique ability to make stuff happen. And relationship building. The relationship that you have built in Northbrook is incredible. Look at what a different neighborhood we have over the last 5 years or 4 years, or you've been here longer than I have. You've been instrumental in a lot of that. You're always willing to meet with residents, which I said earlier. You were at a meeting last night with the residents down off of Thompson Road. You're always willing to do the right thing, even if it's a difficult decision with personnel in order to make sure that our internal relationships stay positive. And part of that is you can look at some of the changes that have occurred under your administration. Innovation. You're always out looking for grants and outside revenue, as we, or myself specifically, has directed you to go find. You're a very creative person. You drive and accept change. You've been distinct in your response when you don't see eye to eye with trustees, and that's good. I prefer an honest response, which you've done. Moving the needle on code enforcement. Wow, have we made some progress there? I've mentioned at the last meeting that the code enforcement from June of 18 till June of 19 has doubled.
Yeah.
And people are starting to see what we're trying to establish here in Colerain Township, and a lot of that's with you. We've talked about all the different transparency initiatives. We still have a comment about a community newsletter, as there are folks in the population that aren't typically on our website. And that'll be a decision of the trustees if we decide to pay for a paper mailing. But and one of our other comments is you could have done a better job at driving the bridge lighting project to fruition. Well, that was just the most recent item on the agenda here. So
just in the nick of time.
People certainly know who you are, and I think you're a fine representative and the #1 diplomat of this township.
Thank you.
People know who you are for good or worse. You certainly have your detractors, but they know what your name is. One trustee recommended Jeff for leadership Cincinnati and wrote a glowing recommendation of Jeff. That wasn't me. It was one of these other two.
That was me.
That was Raj.
Yeah, I appreciate
Way to go,
it.
Raj.
Thank you.
Strategic plan. It's great to have a plan. Thanks for putting that together and more importantly, following through with it. You're 110% on top of it. Those are my comments. Do you have any comments, Raj or Greg?
Read all of our comments.
Well, do you have anything else? I think it's important that we.
Actually, all this comment, Jeff, is cumulative of 3 trustees.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's not, we set aside, we went through the performance evaluations. You got good strength. You got good strength. That's my personal experience. I have a project I want to do. I call Jeff. Let's meet. Let's get the people. You say no. Don't argue with me. He said like a East Miami River project, first project. That's my heart. I said, Jeff. I went to the county engineer and Fred Slim, the project director. Let's meet. And we met downstairs.
Sir.
We made it happen. So we got first projects on the already done. Second phase is going to be happen. Third phase is going to happen. They're going to have a lighting over there. Sidewalk, the lighting, number of things. Hey, we got for the township. It's a lot of neighborhoods, no lights. Northbrook, people lighting. It's amazing when we see the lights turned on. We walk there and it's like. I said, Jeff, we need the lighting. Very important. That's one of the heart of my project. And we're also working on the Groesbeck area lighting, and you set aside a funding for that lighting district. It's amazing. And another thing that we also talked about the hospitals. You agreed. You're going to meet with some other people. You're going to help me. Another big thing I really liked a lot, the one thing, it's going to make a huge difference in Colerain Township for our younger generations. We need to have a solid foundation for our kids. This is our future generation for the Colerain Township. I said, there's a successful program going around that city. I said, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. They made a phenomenal difference in Price Hill, Westchester's. I said, hey, Jeff, I want to do this. Finally, found hey, I know my best friend is the CEO, so let us go and meet. So we met, and he's very, very enthused, and we're trying to bring in. Mm-hmm. That's one of my heart. So is this all a cumulative thing? Also, there is few disagreement what you did. That's the story of life. We cannot agree everything. But overall, I recommended you for the Leadership Cincinnati, one of the prestigious leadership program through the Chamber of Commerce, Cincinnati Chamber of Commerce. I recommended you because I want you to participate, have a great network to build, and learn from other people how they can support you do the program in Colerain Township. It's very critical. So, I don't want to go in length, you already said, but things I want to do, now when I call you, you say, nah, I'm not going to do this. You make it happen.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There isn't a community in the world that wouldn't love to have you, and I hope you stay here forever. Thank you.
Okay, what's next?
So I would like to make a motion and we'll bring it to the floor and then we'll have more discussion. I would like to make a motion to increase your compensation by 3% at the beginning of the next pay period, which would be what, October 1st?
Okay.
Is that appropriate, Larry?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be my motion to
I'll offer a second.
increase your compensation by 3% effective with the next pay period, which would be October 1st.
I offered a second if Heather caught that. I didn't know if you.
I heard you. Yeah, I was able to hear that.
Starting from October 1st, correct?
Yes, that's the motion, and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Any
Or
discussions?
That's your question to ask.
Any discussions?
I would comment that when you started as on January 1st of 18, when we didn't have an administrator and we had to have one, you were not compensated for all the things you were doing. I mean, you were compensated at the other lower rate through April 25th, and at the time, the board decided not to make any adjustments then. So,
I believe he's doing the job of 3 other department heads right now, too. So if you want to add all their salaries together, I'm sure that's what he would like.
All right. We have no further discussions. Roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you,
Congrats.
Board. It is such a privilege to be able to come to work every day, and mostly because of the people that I work with and for. I mean, I really feel like I stand on the shoulders of giants when I'm with these guys. We are so blessed in this township, from the top of the organization to the bottom, with the talent that we have. And it is truly a privilege to work for the residents of Colerain Township, for the businesses, and for the 3 of you. It's easy to get out of bed in the morning when you love what you're doing, and it's been such a privilege. So thank you.
Thank you
for the opportunity.
All right.
The next items on the agenda are the consent agenda items, and there are 3 hires, 3 consent agenda hiring items. The first one is a set of part-time firefighter EMTs. The following individuals: Patrick Dixon, Taylor Glittersleeve, Zachary May, Bradley Mullins, Owen Schneider, Brady Sturchy, and David Wegman. Is recommended that they be hired at the rate of $14.15 per hour for the part-time firefighter EMT role, with subject to 1-year probation. They wouldn't work any more than 30 hours per week throughout the season, and they would begin work on October 6th with your approval. All the oh, okay, we'll do that one separately. So,
We should do all the employment separately.
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do them each individually.
So what do you need in a motion for item 12A?
Yes. Motion to hire the
Mike, somebody's mic's not on. Dana's yelling.
Mine's on. Can you hear me?
Dana, who can't you hear?
sorry.
Okay.
Recommend a motion to hire those individuals that I just read.
I'll make the motion to hire those individuals.
I will second it.
Any discussions?
Those are not new hires. Those are just filling the spots on the roster.
They're new hires, but they're not new to the org chart. Right.
What are the names?
Yeah, the names are Patrick Dixon, Taylor Glittersleeve, Zachary May, Bradley Mullins, Owen Schneider, Brady Sturchy, and David Wegman.
No other discussion from me.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is to reclassify a seasonal employee to a part-time employee. Mr. Blake Butcher has served Colerain Township as a seasonal hydrant maintenance employee. What we would like to do is change his status from that to a part-time firefighter EMTB. The change in his hourly rate of pay will be from $11 an hour now to $14.50 per hour. That would be effective October 6th with your approval this evening. Recommendation is to approve that motion.
I'll make the motion to approve that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussions?
Not from me.
So you want to mention the name?
Blake Butcher.
Blake, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. If no further discussions, roll call, please.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Very good. And the final item this evening is a new hire in the police department. It is a police clerk position. The police clerk position was posted, applications were received, and interviews were conducted. A conditional offer of employment was extended to Kristen Bernicker. The wage for this job is $15 per hour. The anticipated start date would be September 16th. Recommendation is to approve a motion to hire Ms. Bernicker.
You have a motion on the floor?
I will motion that we hire Kristen Bernicker.
Second. I second it. Discussions?
This is just another already established position on the organizational chart.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry. Mr. Rinsko?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. That's all the new business for this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is fiscal office report.
I'd like to ask for the board's usual approval of payroll, purchase orders, and receipts.
I motion that we approve those.
I'll second the approval.
Any discussions?
Not from me.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Rinsko?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Okay.
And I've received word from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control regarding a transfer, and this is just an ownership transfer, from Bistro Colerain LLC, DBA TGI Fridays at 3719 Stone Creek Boulevard, to 2543 Falcons Food LLC, DBA TGI Fridays at 3719 Stone Creek Boulevard. I did speak with Chief Denny and Mr. Kaler, and neither see the need for a hearing, so if the board agrees, I'll go ahead and ship this on back, indicating such.
I have no objections.
Nor do I.
Okay, good. And you know, there was a lot of, this is just my personal opinion here, and there's a lot of discussion tonight about the Colerain Avenue and some of the traffic crashes and how it's the very dangerous intersections. Today, I was going from leaving Stone Creek and going over to the plaza across the street that has the paint store and Hobby Lobby and all of that in it. I was about a third of the way through the intersection when someone came from northbound on Colerain Avenue. If I had been 2 seconds sooner, I would have been T-boned. So, slow down. Put down your phone, okay? And just, I read once that it takes an additional 6 seconds to go through a school zone at 25 miles an hour versus 35 miles an hour. And I have to say, if you don't have an extra 6 seconds to slow down, to make sure that you're safe going through a school zone, for goodness sakes, I think that a lot of the traffic accidents are caused by people not paying attention. And yes, some of them are, things happen. I remember there was a gentleman who had a medical emergency, had a heart attack on Colerain Avenue. I remember distinctly because it was my son's birthday party that day, and everybody was late because of the traffic. He had a medical emergency, of course. But, you know, there's things that happen, but I think a lot of times things happen because we just need to be more vigilant and take our time. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no executive session needed. So the next one, the agenda is adjournment.
I would motion that we adjourn.
I second it. Discussions?
Not from me.
But just real quick, I know that I know we already voted on it, but you were saying you haven't seen anything from KZF. If you walk through the rotunda, you can see stuff from KZF, literally right outside the rotunda.
Thank you.
That's all from me.
All right. The meeting is adjourned.
We need to vote.
Oh, we have voted on. Okay, sorry.
Mr. Rinsko?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everyone.